But we do start with that impressive victory for Newcastle at Tottenham on Super Sunday. Antonio Conte's side booed off at half-time and full-time as they lost their second consecutive match, which left them 5 points behind leaders Arsenal. As for Newcastle, they're into the top four.
Real pride in the players, in the whole football club, really. The scenes at the end were brilliant to be a part of. I have to compliment the group on everything they gave today. I thought it was a really, really good performance. Probably the best since I've been here.
And it is a very good morning to Sue Smith. And Stephen Warnock's LA residency is lasting longer than Celine Dion's, isn't it? So Paul Robinson is with us again this week. Good morning, Paul.
Morning, Paul.
Let's start then with Newcastle. Sue, into the top four yesterday. Can they stay there?
Oh, they'll be hoping that they can stay there. And I think when you look at the performances, they deserve to be where they are. I think that's what we have to say. They've performed well against the big sides. I think you look at how defensively strong they are. They look so well organised, but they've also got that balance going forward, which I think's important. And this is without Saint-Maximin. And also without Isak as well. So, two of their, I suppose, main attacking outlets, they're still proving that they are a real threat going forward. So at the moment, you've got to praise Eddie Howe and how he's, I suppose, improved the players that are already there. The players that have come in have been good, strong signings. Guimaraes, you look at, the quality that he has. Botman, I know the Newcastle fans love him at the moment. And Almiron, wow, what an improvement he's made this season. So it's a long answer to your sort of question. Can they stay there? That's the difficult question. But I think at the moment, all you can look at is improvement, and there's certainly been huge improvements there.
Sue touched on a little bit of the recruitment that Eddie Howe has done there, Paul. But is he overachieving with the group of players he have to be in fourth position at this stage in the season?
I think the credit that you can give Eddie Howe is that he's making players better as well. Sue touched on Botman at the back, but you look at the team, you look at Almiron, you look at the way he's playing, you look at Joe Linton as well. Both of those two players are almost unrecognisable from when Eddie Howe first came in. So he's coaching as well as recruitment. And I think the thing that you can give him credit with is he's signed for the here and now. Yes, they are a financially very wealthy club. When the money came in, he didn't just go and influx superstars. He realised that the club needed to stay in the Premier League. He built a foundation. They've now built on that to progress. I think even Newcastle fans would be surprised at where they are now in the league. Pleasantly surprised, obviously. Whether they can stay there or not, longevity, that's the test for them. But I think it's work in progress, and the progression that you can ask from Eddie Howe after last year, keep him in the Premier League. This season, you're looking realistically top half, top 10. I think they're overachieving, I do, but I think he's done an excellent job with what he's got there.
You said there, though, about the signings that they've made in recruitment, and touched on this concern when Eddie Howe got the job and the new owners bought the club, that would it be sort of mercenaries who weren't really bothered and were just here for a massive paycheck, when actually you look at it, it is characters in that team at the moment, isn't it, that is so impressive. They're well organised and they clearly care, and they're playing for the shirt.
Yeah, they had to sign. They had the recruitment had to be right for where they were. You're not going to go and get a load of Champions League winners that are interested in a relegation scrap in the Premier League. And he bought last year sensible players. He shored up the defence. The defence is full of people who love to defend, as stupid as that sounds. You look at it across that back four, they love defending. They pride themselves on clean sheets, and that's their number one aim. The players that he's got in that team now is a really good mix of quality defensive players and going forward. I think they were missing Saint-Maximin as well. I think he's a hugely creative player for them going forward. It'll be key for them keeping Callum Wilson fit. I suspect that's probably an area to look at in January, is to bolster that area. But I think the work that he's done there, he can only be commended.
So you touched on Miguel Almirón, 5 in as many games. His previous 5 took him 61 matches. It's a wonderful piece of man management from Jack Grealish at the end of last season, isn't it?
Well, whatever's motivated him, it's certainly working, isn't it? And I just think that he was a player, I think, that Newcastle fans, they liked because of his work rate and his effort and his endeavour. You could never question that when he was playing, but it was just his end product.
That is a brilliant goal, though, isn't it?
That is a brilliant goal, and that's the difference, isn't it? So it's great that you're doing all of that, but can you have an end product? Can you finish chances? Can you assist? He's doing all of those things, and that was quality. Lovely change of pace, and then to get into that position and to finish off. He's had a brilliant start to the season, so you've got to praise him as a player, but also Eddie Howe and the management of him.
Sue makes the point there that you could never fault his work rate and things like that, his endeavour. But if Newcastle want to get to where they're aiming for, i.e. Champions League and winning things, then players who just sort of run around a lot won't really cut it anymore, to put it quite simplistically. But you know what I mean?
They have previously.
Not at all. I'm saying that if it was just effort that you have as a player,
Yeah, of course.
ultimately at Newcastle,
Yeah.
you're probably not going to make it. So you need to add more conscious things like goals and assists to your game.
Yeah, and he's doing that. That's the next level that they want to take him to. I mean, Sue will tell you more from a striker's point of view, but that was a player in confidence, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
oh, yeah.
Like 12 months ago, he wouldn't have done that. He wouldn't have had the endeavour to go around the defender and to finish it like he did. He took the defender on, had a great finish, and he's grown in stature, he's grown in confidence, and he's grown as a player. The basis of a good player has always been there, but I think now with the role that Eddie Howe has given him, the confidence that he's got in himself, he's playing in a good team. He's playing in a team that's creating him chances and giving him opportunities.
You talked about defenders who love defending. I always get the impression that Nick Pope quite likes making saves as well.
Yeah, he's a top-class goalkeeper. Top-class goalkeeper. Worked very closely with Popey at Burnley and seen his development in a later stage, if you like, for a goalkeeper. You see a lot of younger goalkeepers given a chance earlier on. Popey had to wait his time. He's got it later in his career. I mean, he's 30 now, but he's playing some of the best football that he's played. I think he's clearly Gareth Southgate's number 2. He didn't play particularly well in the Germany game, we know that, but I think his form since leaving Burnley, going to Newcastle, I think he's improved and gone on to another level again.
Just on that point then about England, and he would have felt that maybe his performance wasn't, as you said, as it should have been in that game against Germany. Will that have hurt him? Because he'd been waiting a while for his chance behind Jordan Pickford, who was injured, missed out, and not quite the levels that Nick Pope would expect.
Knowing the type of character he is, no, I think he'll deal with it very well. I think he's a very level character. He's the type of character that if he makes mistakes in games, it doesn't prevent him from doing the right things. Quite often as a goalkeeper, if you come for a cross, you miss it, you make the wrong decision, you stay on the line for the rest of the game. Popey's not like that. He's a very relaxed character. He's a very level-headed character. I can see the reason that Gareth Southgate's put him as his number 2, because he's the type of character that if Jordan Pickford was to come off at any stage during the World Cup, whether it be quarter-final, semi-final, it wouldn't faze him by going on. He's very dominant in his box, he's very dominant aerially. Shot stopping's incredible. We saw his saves against Tottenham, whether it's with his feet. He's a really tall guy. He can get to balls that other goalkeepers can't in the top corner, but also he'd be questioned around his feet. But he actually makes very good stops with his feet, with his legs. He's becoming the all-round goalkeeper. Distribution is something he's worked very, very hard on, and where he does fall behind Jordan Pickford a little bit, but I think that's something that will come with, with working.
So we're going to talk about another area for Gareth Southgate to have a lot of long, hard thoughts and decisions over, which is his backup centre-forwards a little bit later on, because a number of the options scored this weekend. But Callum Wilson, we will go into, I would have thought, great length about whether it's a foul or not when Dermot joins us at 11:30. But the one thing it is, it's a brilliant finish.
Oh, a brilliant finish, and we know that he's capable of doing that. And you just think if Callum Wilson hadn't have picked up the injuries that he's picked up, he would be on the plane, because he is a top quality striker. We know that Harry Kane is the number 1, and it's who else is going to be in there, and there is competition in that area. But his movement, his quality finishes, we know he's got all of that, and it's just about making sure that he stays fit.
As for their opponents, your former club, not a good week for Spurs.
No, difficult week for them. I think after a really good start to the season, in all honesty, without playing particularly well, but getting results and putting themselves in a place where they want to be in the table. Listen, it's not a disastrous week. There's 2 results and performances that the manager would have obviously preferred not to have. But I think where you look at where they are in the table, beginning of the season, sitting 3rd, 4th in the table, playing the games that they have where they are, they lost that excellent record at home. And I think it was more, he had injuries last night, you can make excuses for them, but he came out in his press conference after the game and said, told you, it's going to need time, I'm going to need money, I'm going to need windows, which, fair play to him, he said that when he initially came in. I think what makes it worse for Spurs this week is the other lot across the road are doing so well. And I think if you take all of that out of it, where they're sitting in the league from the start of the season, there's progression there. I don't think it's as bad as people think it is.
Look, it's that interesting thing with Tottenham, isn't it? That Paul made the point there that winning without playing very well, and it's that style of Conte's that is not the most beautiful on the eye. And when the results stop, then the murmurs start, don't they, about how they are playing, the way they're going through games and approaching them. Yeah,
and he's not going to change. That's the way that Conte plays. The tweaks that he might make is from a 3-4-3 into a 3-5-2, but it's very... it's very small tweaks. And, it might not be the most attractive way of playing, but he gets results, and he's got results previously doing it. He's been such a successful manager. We keep talking about this elite manager, and he plays that certain style, and he's not going to change that. And I think, you looked yesterday, they were missing 4 key players, and I think that's something that he spoke about. And at times, you watched them yesterday and you thought, well, they looked a little bit one-dimensional. Do they have that creativity in the middle of the park? But missing Richarlison, missing Kulusevski, I think when Harry Kane dropped in, that's when you started to see the creativity.
We as English football fans and ex-players and pundits, quite often we don't appreciate the art of defending.
Yeah.
And when your team's not winning playing like that, it's quite easy to criticise. I mean, you look at Spurs at the beginning of the season, you say they weren't playing particularly well, probably playing exactly how Antonio Conte wants them to play and getting results. You play like that at home, you play defensively, you play the way they did at the Emirates and you lose the game. It's easy to criticise because we don't sit here from an English fan's point of view and go, wow, that's an excellent exhibition of defending. We want to see our teams go forward, attack and create problems.
But do you not think as well that generally in football as a whole, that it's very, very difficult to both win and be stylish and exciting at the same time? And we have been spoilt with Liverpool and Manchester City in the last few seasons. But, you know, history is probably full of a lot of teams who won the title who weren't exactly brilliant every week and won every game 5-2 or whatever it would be.
No, it's about getting results, isn't it? And like you say, you'll find it very, very hard to find a football supporter or pundit ex-fan to look at a team and go, they've won every week and criticise them for winning every week. Yeah, it might not be easy on the eye, pleasing on the eye, but when that doesn't work, that's when you open yourself up. And I think Antonio Conte said after the game, he still needs more time.
Sue, you said about Conte and the style, that's the way they play. Well, one of the ways he plays is with wing-backs. Are his wing-backs good enough?
I think if you asked Antonio Conte, maybe he would say not on a consistent enough basis. So I think that, yes, we do see quality at times, but I think we need to see more quality because that is the way that he plays. That's where the outlet is. That's where the attacking creativity can come from. We know how important the wing-backs are and they're getting into promising positions at times and maybe not quite finding that final ball or that final pass. So that has to be better.
Perisic is good enough.
Yes.
Perisic is good enough. He's a world-class player, but at his age and his stage of his career, he can't play every game. You look at the rotation that Conte puts in with his wing-backs, he's not happy. Emerson Royal plays, Doherty plays, Sessegnon plays, Perisic comes in and plays.
But Spence doesn't play.
Jed Spence doesn't play, but he has done, he's started to come into it. So Antonio Conte makes a big thing about having his players ready off the field on the training ground. He needs to see a certain level of fitness, desire, commitment, attitude in training. He said it in a roundabout way, but he hasn't thought that Jed Spence is ready. Now we've seen Jed Spence come into squads, we've seen him start making his way into the team. Maybe he'll start using him a little bit more.
But do you think, is there a little bit of a hint of a message there to the board from Conte there that there was this sort of storyline that bubbled under over the summer that Spence was not necessarily Antonio Conte signing, maybe one for the board for the future, and he's sort of intimating that maybe we could have used that money somewhere else or not?
Potentially, if you're very good at reading cryptic messages, if that is the case.
Or overreading it.
Yeah, or overreading it. I think, listen, he's a top player. You look at what he did at Forest on loan last year. He's a very good defender, he's a very good player. Whether Antonio Conte wanted him, whether it was his player or not, we'll see in time. But I think the noises he made about him not being ready, he's now ready, clearly, because he's using him. So I think it's from here on in till the end of the season, how much he utilises him will tell you the truth.
Really interesting as well that Paul touched on what Antonio Conte said yesterday about needing patience and needing time, but often his own patience is quite short and he's not necessarily a head coach who often sticks around for a long period. Do you see that he is more invested in this project and knows that it will take a little bit of time to get Spurs where he wants them?
I think so. Often when you listen to managers, they sort of say that they want, I don't know, 3 transfer windows. He's sort of saying he needs another 2-3 transfer windows. So that will be, 5? So he clearly knows that it is a rebuild. He's in there. You've got to say that he's in there for, he wants to see Tottenham win things. That's why he's come in. He's come into the football club because he wants to see them. And we are seeing progression, whether we're seeing the style of football that a lot of Tottenham fans want to see. But I think they'll certainly be happy if they start winning trophies. And that's what Conte was brought in to do, to win trophies.